think it's the government's problem? You think it's the opposition's problem? Or do you think both are at fault? Because the opposition seems, at least the Congress party and the LOP seems to approach Parliament, sir, if I may, as, as enemy territory, where you go in like a gorilla, do your thing and you come out.
See, the Parliament is not a notice board for the government to essentially pin up its stuff. If you look at the complexion of the Lok Sabha, it is 310 to 240, right? So therefore, between the ruling alliance and the opposition alliance, the numbers are even Stevens. So therefore, if Parliament has to function, and function efficaciously, and I'm one of those who's always been a votary that Parliament should function, then under those circumstances, the concerns of the opposition also need to be accommodated. I had once suggested in my previous term to one of the presiding officers of the House that to accommodate the concerns of the opposition, at least thrice a week in the evening after government business stops at 6 o'clock, let there be a Rule 193 discussion whereby the concerns of the opposition also find space. So ultimately, you need to find a modus vivendi, and let me end by saying the responsibility of running the House primarily rests with the government. And that's been the sine qua non of India's democratic system. So therefore, to use the opposition as a whipping boy by first not providing it space is like raising a ghost and slaying it and then calling yourself Superman.
But sir, what does the government do? What does the government do if the opposition comes armed with a couple of jumlas? In the recent past, especially since the war has broken out, what have we heard? The Prime Minister is compromised, his foreign policy is a joke, Narendra surrender, etc., etc. If this is the combative attitude that the opposition comes with to Parliament, can you absolve the opposition of all responsibility of running Parliament, sir?
May I ask you a counter question? When was the last time that the Lok Sabha actually discuss the demands for grants of either the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of External Affairs, or for that matter, the Ministry of Home? And I don't recall in the last 12 years, except for perhaps one discussion on the demands for grants of the Ministry of Home, there has been a substantive discussion in Parliament on any of the core ministries of the government. So therefore, when your entire attitude is to obfuscate, to dissimulate, to try and block discussions, in fact, if you were to go through the parliamentary record, you would find that all questions pertaining to sensitive ministries are actually dismissed at the threshold. In fact, I put out a number the last time. Since this parliament began in 2019, 66 of my questions till the previous session on important issues of national security and defense, issues that were pertinent from the country's point of view, were not even admitted. So therefore, how can you possibly have a democratic system functioning when the government is so diffident, so chary, and so insecure about answering fundamental questions? After all, if Parliament is not going to discuss important issues, for example, we have a Rule 193 pending in the House at the moment on the situation in West Asia. It was decided in the Business Advisory Committee that there would be a threadbare discussion on the situation in West Asia because it concerns our diaspora, correct, it concerns our energy security, it concerns our food security. Why is the government not having that discussion?
But they had an all-party meeting. They're saying we answered all your questions there.
An all-party meeting is not a substitute for a discussion in Parliament. There are 543 members who've been elected by over 2 million people at a per constituency. They have their own concerns. They have a right to articulate their concerns. Perhaps I think we would be the only parliament in the world, which has not had a discussion on the situation in the greater Middle East. And I can't understand. The situation in the Middle East is not the creation of the government. You know, as I was pointing out earlier, that we've rather been marginal players in the greater Middle East. So what are you so diffident about? See, as we speak today, the focus has been on crude oil and LNG, but the real impact is going to be on your agricultural sector.
With fertilizers.
Fertilizers. By the time the Rabi sowing season comes, you'll be hugely stressed because 49% of your nitrogen-based fertilizers actually come from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, Oman, and Qatar has already shut down the biggest fertilizer producing plant in that country. Qatar Fertilizer runs it, which accounts for about 17% of urea. So therefore, under those circumstances, don't you think it warrants a discussion in Parliament as to how are we going to be diversifying our sources of procurement? And if Parliament is not going to discuss the situation in Middle East or the situation in West Asia, which is the other forum in the country which is going to do it?
Before